Okay, I'm off to counselling now. A bit stressed about it after last week, but I'm sure it'll go a lot better. Well, I hope it'll be better. Though I am feeling quite irritable and abrasive at the moment, so hopefully that doesn't affect my experience with the counsellor today. But you know, we just have to take it day by day. That's the whole point of doing these things. And every day, you never know how you're going to feel when you have depression. You just have to note when you're feeling bad, and just be careful when you're feeling bad that those feelings don't flood over to other people. Okay, today's counselling session was actually really good. It was one of the reasons why I went there is because I needed a place to talk and sort of, get things out, and that's exactly what today's session at the counsellor was like. And it sort of brought something up like in my head that I think is important to talk about, and dealing with post-traumatic stress and depression and grief and all those kind of things it's about, there's three words that I think are really important. Is help, support and understanding are the three most important things that you can give somebody when they're going through what I'm going through, or who suffered from abuse or assault or any of those things. There's lots of people out there like this. It's the problem I think is that people misunderstand what help is and support is. Now, like when somebody's asking for help and support and understanding, they're not asking for advice. Now, this may sound strange, but advice is not help or support. Advice assumes, when you're giving somebody advice, you're assuming that they don't know something. That's not necessarily true when you're depressed. The point that I'm trying to make is that sometimes a person, and I feel this way, actually already has all the answers. They already know what they need to do. But the trouble is that they're dysfunctional. The abuse and the assaults and all this kind of negative stuff and isolation has made them dysfunctional. It is dysfunctional. And it's like being a machine, that has a specific thing that it needs to do, and it knows it's supposed to flash a green light, but instead it flashes a red light, and it knows it's supposed to flash a green light. That's its purpose is to flash the green light, but it just keeps on flashing the red light. So it's not helpful to tell that machine you're supposed to be flashing green. Why don't you flash green? Advice is really good if it's asked for, but a lot of us aren't asking for help. We're asking for support. We are asking for help, but we're not asking for advice. We're asking for support and understanding more than anything else. You'll help us. You'll help us by being supportive, by being understanding. You won't help us by giving us advice. What you'll do is actually the opposite. When you give somebody advice and they're not asking for it, that person is feeling like, I know this stuff. I don't need you to tell me this stuff. You're making me feel like you think I'm stupid. You're making me feel like I don't understand what I need to do. And I know what I need to do, but it's difficult. It's hard work to do what I need to do. That's why I need your support. When somebody starts acting defensively because you're giving them advice and they haven't asked for it, well, they didn't ask for that advice. And when you give them advice and you're not allowing them to do what they need to do, or to come up to follow through with their own conclusions, you're taking their power away. So they feel frustrated because they feel like you're not listening to them. They feel powerless because they feel like you're taking their power away by becoming some sort of teacher that they don't need. Sometimes we have all the answers. Most of us have all the answers. An addict knows that he shouldn't be taking drugs, but they can't stop themselves. They're dysfunctional. depressant or a suicidal person knows that they shouldn't hurt themselves, but they're dysfunctional, so they do. And they do it because of frustration a lot of the time, because they feel like they're not being heard, that they feel like that they will only be heard, or they will only make a difference if they do these extreme things instead. Like, I understand when people give me advice that it's coming from the right place, it's coming from their heart, it's coming from love, a place of love. It's not coming from, and I understand the frustration when you feel like I'm not following the advice that you're giving me. But what you have to understand is I have to have that power. I have to make those decisions, make those choices, make those actions on my own. If I don't feel like I have that power, then I'll get frustrated. And part of that feeling of stress and post-traumatic stress disorders is that we remember the powerlessness of the assaults. We remember the power that when we're in those situations when people are doing things to us and we can't stop them, and they're hurting us and we can't stop them. It's terrifying. And when you even from coming from the right place, when you take that power away from somebody else, they're remembering all of those experiences and they will react negatively to it. Okay, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person, but sometimes you just got to step back and be there for them, rather than give them advice that they don't need, or that you think that they could do things better. Everybody's life is their own. We've got to make our own decisions, our own choices. I just needed to get that off my chest. And again, I really care about everybody. The only person that I have trouble with caring about is myself. But don't take my power away from me. Allow me to have my power. But it's really important, because that feeling of powerlessness is one of the things that we keep on reliving, and that's something that we need to work through on our own. But that doesn't mean you can't support us in our journey. That doesn't mean you can't help us just by being there, by acknowledging this, and by being a soundboard, so that we can talk about, we can vent and talk about those negative things. That's important too. It's an important part of the process. And if you do that instead of give advice, then you'll prove to us that you understand what we're going through.
Thanks for watching this Nocturnal Customs Limited production. Find us and give us a like on Facebook, and be sure to follow us on Twitter for more posts, videos and updates. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube, where we will be bringing you more regular content on filmmaking, animation, my original music, the occasional cover song, as well as more of our feature project releases as they happen. You can find out more information about us on nocturnal3d.com, or contact me directly by emailing visualnz@gmail.com. If you like, you can also follow or contact us on Twitter, where we regularly post as NocturnalNZ, or you can keep in contact by giving us a like on Facebook at Nocturnal Customs.